Is we're waiting for a few more people here, or are we?
There's about 6 minutes now.
Oh, nine. Okay, okay, wow. Great. Right, so should we start?
It's 2 minutes past the hour, so that's the magic number.
Okay, let's do this. Okay, so welcome everyone, those of you here and those of you online as well. I'm delighted to introduce Matt Simpson. Oh, I need to move this way. Okay, literally. Where?
You need beside me.
There we go.
Right here. Okay, fantastic. Yeah, good.
Here,
Yes, so I'll start again. Thank you everyone for coming today, both face to face here physically as well as online. I'm delighted to welcome Matt Simpson. We were discussing earlier because he's doing a few events with us, talk yesterday, today, and then 2 workshops. I don't really want to repeat the same thing 4 times, so I'll try and keep it brief. But Matt Simpson has substantial experience, over 2 decades of experience giving digital transformation within, driving digital transformation within Canadian higher education. And he's currently Director of Information Technology for the Faculty of Health Sciences at Queen's University in Kingston, Canada. He's also able to leverage technology to enhance teaching, enable research, and streamline administration. So the workshops and the talks that he's giving at Duke NUS for this visit are related to each of those different aspects. He's dedicated to building high-performance, engaging teams that deliver innovative solutions designed to empower the communities they serve. His leadership philosophy, I think this is very important, is grounded in a balance of technical rigor, creative problem solving, and a deep appreciation of the human element in technology. And of course, this is increasingly relevant. It's always been, but now with AI and the various different developments that we need to be mindful of that. So I'm going to stop there. I'm going to hand over to Matt. I'm looking forward to your talk, Matt. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. Thanks for the lovely introduction. And hello, everyone online. All right. So I'm just going to start by saying thank you very much for having me in Singapore. It's delightful to be here. I'm not cold for the first time in a few months, being from Canada and having it just winter is just wrapping up. I am happy that I'm not at home shoveling snow today. I've also had a lot of fun preparing for this talk. I've put a lot of energy and effort into developing a technical solution that I'm going to share with you today. And then I spent a lot of time building the talk in PowerPoint. And this is the first time those 2 things have come together. And I mentioned earlier that I feel like I need a few more hands because I'm going to be shuffling between papers and PowerPoint and the browser. So yeah. So yes, my name is Matt Simpson, and I am the the Director of Information Technology within the Faculty of Health Sciences at Queen's University. I've been at Queen's for about 22 years, started off as a web developer and moved up into various positions before becoming the Director of IT about 4 years ago now. My role is varied. I am responsible for dealing with everything from desktop computers and server infrastructure to a software development team, video conferencing or web conferencing, a media production team, that sort of thing. But I do have a lot of history in the learning systems space and in software engineering. That's my background. And so putting this together was a pleasure. So first of all, I just wanted to mention all of the content in today's talk is licensed under the Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Share Alike. You're welcome to use this content. You're welcome to repurpose it and share it as long as you provide attributions to myself and it's not for commercial purposes. Any other purpose, don't hesitate to let me know ahead of time and I'm happy to discuss things with you. So I'm going to start by a bit of a lecture where I started the past 20 years of experience in this area. I'm going to talk. Is everything okay? Can't hear the speaker. They can? It's good? Okay. I think that's good. So then I'm going to talk about what is different now than when we first started doing learning systems for higher education 20 years ago. I'm going to introduce you to an AI friend of mine. Her name is Anna and the SkillScribe platform. Then I'm going to show you some of the authoring experiences that this platform provides and how it will help faculty members and subject matter experts create online material. I'm going to show you how Anna, the AI, is persistent and context aware across the application. This is not an afterthought. This is a core part of the application. And then a part that I'm really excited about, which is the adaptive learning experience and what that looks like for the learners and how they will experience that. Then I'm going to go into engaging the disengaged learners, which is a big problem with online learning. People love to sign up and then they never come back. So I have some ideas on how we can not solve that, but improve that. And then lastly, something that's very important to me, which is privacy and local AI. Hopefully that sounds appealing. So I'm going to begin with describing where I started on this journey. By the way, I have intentionally not full screened the PowerPoint presentation, as I will be jumping back and forth between the browser and the PowerPoint. So I just thought for consistency, it makes more sense like this. So yeah, so even in the early 2000s, most learning content in the university classrooms was still distributed on paper. In the MD program at Queen's University, our learners would arrive on the first day of a course with their physical textbooks, stacks of notes from previous cohorts of learners, and they would also receive this course pack. I don't know if this is like an international thing, a course pack, but we had course packs. This was hundreds of sheets of paper that were printed by our administrative office staff for the entire cohort of 120 some odd learners. It contained things like the syllabus, reading material, all the relevant journal articles, all of the PowerPoint slides, all of the lessons schedule for that entire duration of that particular course. They got this big stack of paper, which was instantly out of date the second it was printed. And so there was constant refreshing required. So at this time, the majority of the learning events that we were teaching were lectures, and only the most innovative teachers had their course content online. So some of the teachers created course content like dedicated websites for this. I know a few in particular who won awards for creating teaching websites. And then there was many others that used a clunky but centrally supported learning management system called WebCT, which was originally developed by the University of British Columbia, adopted by many universities, and then eventually became what we know today as Blackboard. So the result of this was that the MD program had course materials for our learners scattered across all of these different locations. There was no consistency for the learners, and they got upset. They had enough, and they went to the dean asking for, in nice words, improved use of the technology by the school. So as a result of that, our dean formed the Medical Education Technology Unit and instructed the unit to improve our use of technology across our programs. And I was hired as a web developer in 2004 and given the task, and I think I still have the email, build a website for our medical students so they can access all of their learning content in a single place. That was my systems requirement document. So not a lot to go on, but it started a very interesting and very rewarding journey. So with that instruction, I went on to create a digital learning platform that we have been using, and up until very recently, we've been evolving for over 20 years. And what made that platform effective? So we had a very dense curriculum, and there was an enormous amount of information that our medical students needed to know and understand. And there were many different teachers. Each of those teachers were tasked with teaching their own small but critical portion of the curriculum. So what our platform did well was organize all of this information into a very opinionated and consistent structure. So we had terms And within terms, we had courses, and within courses, we had learning events. And within each learning event, we had resources that were to be used before, during, and after that session. And most of these were lectures at the time. This pattern was consistently applied because there was complete buy-in from all of our course directors across especially all of our pre-clerkship courses. The information was also presented to the learners in a very familiar calendar format at the macro level, rather than within a silo of each course, like many of the traditional learning management systems do. This allowed them to see their entire week and know exactly what was expected of them. So that part of it went over very well. But in thinking about what made that generation of learning system effective, a lot of it had to do with simply organizing information in efficient and predictable ways. And maybe I'm oversimplifying that a little bit. That wasn't the only good thing about it, but that was the core thing that made it successful. So any teaching innovation that actually happened was done in the classroom. And so they did a lot of teaching innovation. They introduced flipped classrooms, online learning modules, directed independent learning, problem-based learning, team-based learning, all of that sort of stuff. So that is what made the learning experience better. But our learning management system was focused squarely on administrative improvements to content delivery, and it was effective in doing what it was designed to do. And that was great for then. But what does the next generation of learning system look like? And how can we take advantage of today's extremely capable artificial intelligence in these new systems? So that's what I was thinking about as I was designing this. But before I dive into the illustrative prototype that I've been building, I want to talk about what changed in the landscape more recently, because it's not just that AI has arrived. It's that the problem that these learning systems are intended to solve has changed. Over the past decade, online learning platforms like Coursera, Udemy, edX, and Khan Academy, they have made high-quality educational content abundant and freely available. That was a genuine revolution. If you want to learn something from the best professors in your field or even in the world, you can do that online today, mostly for free. But it's also revealed something a little bit uncomfortable, and that is making content available is not the same thing as making people learn. So massive open online courses, or MOOCs, if you've ever taken one, completion rates have hovered between 5 and 15% for over a decade. Most people that sign up for these things never finish it. And in fact, I like to say that I'm proud to say I was one of the 160,000 people that signed up for the very first MOOC, Introduction to Artificial Intelligence, in 2011. That was done by two well-known Stanford professors. The format was innovative, it was engaging, and while 23,000 people did actually complete it, that's still less than 15%, and I did not complete it, just to be clear. So meanwhile, the majority of the learning management systems that we've all adopted, things like Canvas, Blackboard, Moodle, and Brightspace, they're still fundamentally just digital filing cabinets. They're very good at organizing and delivering content, which is exactly what we needed at the time, but their core model hasn't changed. You basically dump content into them, learners consume it, and you hope that something sticks. So the problem is no longer can the learners access the material. That problem has been solved. The problem now is, are the learners actually engaged, and are they actually learning? And more specifically, are they understanding, retaining, enjoying, and able to apply what they've been taught? So this is the gap that I believe that AI can fill, not by replacing teachers, but by making the learning process itself more adaptive and more personal and more engaging. So this brings me to what I've been building. And again, this is for illustrative purposes primarily. I've created a fully functional research prototype in Python and Next.js to showcase some of the features that I envision for the next generation of learning systems. So, sorry. So my prototype is called SkillScribe, and at its center is an AI named Anna. and it was fun naming Anna. I named her after Anna Komnene, the Byzantine princess and scholar who lived from 1083 to 1153. She was the author of the Alexiad, one of the most important historical documents that we have today of the Byzantine Empire and the First Crusade. So, like her namesake, Anna is dedicated to the pursuit and sharing of knowledge. She serves different roles depending on who you are. For teachers, she's a curriculum design partner, an educational developer, and an instructional designer. For learners, she's a Socratic tutor, a supportive, encouraging presence, and a source of motivation and inspiration to get people to move on. And she's also a guide who can teach you more about a particular topic that you're interested in and can point you to more relevant courses if you're interested in going even deeper. So Anna is always present in the system alongside whatever you're working on, and she remembers your conversations. She adapts to your activity within the system. And I think that's the future of the next generation of learning, not just for online learning, but for all education, an online AI companion. So we are going to explore 4 areas of this platform today. The first is the authoring experience, how Anna will help teachers turn what they already know into more structured online learning. We're going to see how a teacher can create a new course simply by having a conversation with the AI with no other information other than a few sentences. Then we're going to see, sorry, I lost my kind of spot. Oh yeah. So you can create a course just by talking to the AI. The other way and the more effective way is to generate course content using materials that you already have. If you've created lectures, if you have journal articles, you can put that into this document or into this system, and Anna will create an online course based on that material. I think that's going to be a game changer for our subject matter experts who are not instructional designers, who are not educational developers. They just want to teach what they know, and this is a tool that I think can help them. Second, we're going to explore how Anna persists within SkillScribe. So you can see how her behavior adapts depending on whether you're learning, whether you're authoring, or whether you're administering a course. And you'll see her Socratic tutoring in action, how she guides learners towards understanding rather than just provides them with answers. You can also see how she walks a learner through post-quiz analysis, turning mistakes into learning moments. And you'll see what Anna knows about you through a knowledge profile that she's consistently and constantly building over time, and how she collects this information transparently and ethically. Third, we're going to explore the adaptive learning experience from a user perspective. You'll see how learners can indicate that they already know content, which allows them to skip their way past it once they've demonstrated and proven their mastery. And you'll see how Anna assesses their mastery, what happens when they succeed, and then also when they don't. You'll see how the teacher retains full control over this capability and can enable this or disable it and configure it and refine it and review analytics on its use as well. And lastly, we're going to take a look at how Anna engages with disengaged learners. We'll talk about the distinction between engagement that serves the learner and engagement that serves the platform itself. You'll see how Anna's engagement system works by connecting a learner's personal interests to the content that they need to cover. And we'll take a look at the ethical guardrails that ensure that the system encourages and nudges, but never nags, guilts, or manipulates the user into continuing. So let's open this prototype and go through a few different areas. So I do have screenshots of a lot of the capabilities of the application baked into the PowerPoint slide, but as a person looking at a presentation, I'd much prefer to see the application itself. So I'm going to try this. Bear with me. I'm going to switch back and forth between the browser and the presentation and this sheet of paper and see if we can meld all these together. So first we're going to take a look at the authoring experience. So when a teacher wants to create a new course, they don't need to start with a blank page and a content editor. They can start with a conversation with Anna. So She acts as a curriculum design partner. She asks clarifying questions like who are the learners and what is their current skill level. She asks about learning objectives, what the scope is, what the depth or time constraints are, and any assessment preferences that you as the subject matter expert may have. Anna continues asking questions until she feels she has enough information to generate an online course for you. And then she allows you to click a button and that content will generate. And we'll walk through that in just a sec. But we can also generate courses from your existing material. I find this feature to be very, very effective. Teachers can upload PDFs, Word documents, or more importantly, PowerPoint presentations to accelerate this content creation. Anna does not just copy and paste the content from your PowerPoint document into an online course. She actively rewrites it in clear instructional language optimized for online learning. She breaks it into digestible lessons, and she adds introductions, transitions, and summaries, preserving any key terminology and concepts from the source. So we're going to go over to the browser and see what that looks like. Okay. So this is the platform itself, just to give you a really brief tour. We are currently looking at the administrative studio side of the application. So this is what a content author would see. We've created a tenant called Anna. You can see the URL up there is anna.skillscribe.localhost. This is just running on my laptop. I don't want to do a full presentation of the AI on my laptop because this is a 5-year-old MacBook Pro. The AI is all run locally. It's a little bit slow. I've got a new computer waiting on my desk at home. Very excited about the M5 Pro. So I'll probably not wait for a lot of the AI to happen because it does take a few minutes on this machine. But I've tried to do my best to set up tabs that kind of show the progression for you. Okay. So from here, you can also see Anna, the AI, kind of sitting there on the right-hand sidebar. I'm currently working on a WebRTC voice conversation with her, so you can just talk to the AI as you're building your course. That's going to be fun. But if I click on this Create with Anna button, you're going to get a dialog that looks like this. And on this dialog, you could, if you just wanted to have the AI fully create the course for you, you could just note what topic you would like the course to be created on, and it will go ahead and build that. So let's try to do this quickly. Please, so create a course on how to use SkillScribe from a content author's perspective. And then start creating. So that takes a little while, so I'll just maybe pop to the next. Yeah, I'm just going to pop to the next one. Okay. So you saw there how I just typed in a phrase and then it would go over to a chat interface. Oh, there we go. Where the AI is going to start asking questions about what kind of content you want to create. So this is also AI, so I actually don't know what the responses are going to be. So we'll kind of experience this a little bit together. But in this case, she said it's a really interesting course idea, helping people get the most out of SkillScribe from a content creator's point of view. She's very happy to help me do this, but she wants to chat a bit about what the vision looks like. So first of all, she's asking who the target audience is. So this would be teachers or subject matter experts who want to create online courses based on their content. This is at a university level. Great. University level course creation is really specific and a valuable niche. What should learners be able to do after completing the course? They should be able to author a course in SkillScribe. Sure. Let's do that. How comprehensive should this be? Should we cover introductory concepts, intermediate skills, or advanced topics? advanced topics. I would normally be more thorough than this, but for demonstration purposes, I'm trying to just type quickly here. How long should it take? A few hours. Let's say yes, 2 hours. How would you like to assess the learner's understanding of this content? So currently it says quizzes or practical exercises. Quizzes are all that's supported, but I do have this really cool idea that that the AI will assess you instead of you doing a quiz. So I'm going to try that next. I just didn't have time before I came here to do that. So I'm just going to say quizzes. Are there any particular concepts or skills that must be covered or anything that you should be that excluded from the course? So I'm just going to say everything you know about authoring content in SkillScribe. And I think that's the last question. Yep. So at this point, she feels like she has enough information to create this 2-hour course. One of the reasons that she's so confident that she has all of this information is that the training material for how to use SkillScribe, all of the documentation that an end user would use, the step-by-step guides, are files that are sitting in the file system that the AI has access to. So every time I update the training material, the AI already knows what that new feature is. So we'll just click on the generate course button. This might have been a bad idea. It takes a lot of resources on my computer and there's no stop. So I'll just let it go. Next, I want to pop over and I want to show you what it looks like when you create a course based on uploaded material. So in this example, I took one of a PowerPoint slide from our term 4A. So this would be a second-year medical student, a lecture on twin pregnancy. So that one single file is the only thing that I've uploaded here. So Anna analyzes that document. She pulls out 28 sections. She's said that there are 491 words, there are 17 images, and estimated about 8 hours of content in an online course. She's pulled out and correctly identified that this is obstetrics and gynecology at an intermediate level. And she's suggesting seven modules. And there are the key themes that she's pulled out. It's also showing you all of the images that are pulled out from the PowerPoint slide deck. Can't really. The PowerPoint slide deck so that you can check or uncheck if you don't want certain images. Like, for example, I don't want the intro slide or the QR code. So then what you do, she's also came up with a title. So twin pregnancy management and delivery. And I'm not going to click start creating because that will do the same thing twice. So yeah, so in this example, it's going to take us back to that authoring interview that she's done. And you can see it's different. She's had a chance to review the material and it looks a really important topic. Great. Based on your document, this content covers obstetricians, midwives, nurses, and medical students involved in the care of pregnant women, particularly those with multiple pregnancies. So is that correct? Or would you like to adjust that target audience? So it figured out that based on the slides that I've uploaded. So that is correct. She identified these potential learning objectives from the document. Do you want to use these or do you want to modify them or create your own objectives? So this is great. Your document suggests 5 main sections at the intermediate level. Would you like to cover them all comprehensively or focus on a few topics in depth? Comprehensively. Anyway, I think you kind of get the picture at this point. So she does a bit of an interview. She'll take your content and create your course for you. Now, I've done this with a few other documents, just so you can see what the result would be. And this one here is the CISSP certification preparation course. So this is a professional cybersecurity certification. I uploaded my all of the notes from all of the courses that I took in order to do this certification, and it was like 70,000 words or some really long document, and it came up with this structure. Actually, if I go back to the PowerPoint slides for a second, I can just show you. Yeah, so you probably remember seeing this screen there where she said she's ready to generate the course. If I click that generate course button, there's a little progress bar at the bottom that kind of shows you as she's authoring the course what that looks like. And when you're done, you click see my course, and it brings you to a page that looks like this, which has the title, the description of the course, the difficulty level that you've identified, the estimated duration, that kind of stuff. It also shows you all of the content. So you can see there's different modules here that are covering all of the content. There's different lessons and quizzes and all that sort of stuff. So that is the authoring experience. Pretty effective. Yeah. So next thing I'm going to cover is assessments, those quizzes that I was talking about, as well as quality analysis. So Anna can auto-generate assessments directly from your course content. She creates multiple choice, true, false, and short answer questions based on the key concepts she's identified. She includes plausible distractors based on common misconceptions, not randomly wrong answers, but the kinds of mistakes that learners actually make. Teachers can review, edit, and approve every question before it's published, so nothing goes live without human oversight, if you want. There's also a really neat feature that allows you to iteratively refine the content. So after you've generated these courses and they're available, if you want to add more content or edit existing stuff, the AI can help you do that. So we'll see how that works. And then also she can analyze the quality of the content that either you or she previously created through quality analysis. So we'll just take a look at how that works quickly. Okay, so back on this page here. Yeah, this is good. So we'll go here. So auto-generating of quizzes. Yeah, we'll do this. So you can see here at the end of each of the lessons, there is a quiz. And if I click on the little edit button, again, in this authoring environment, I can go and I can see an example of the questions that she's created. So in this case, there's the question. Here are the possible answers, the possible distractors that she's added as well that really do fit in line nicely with the question. And then this is the correct one. So she's generating that. Another area for this, which is sort of neat, is at the bottom, of every page, there is practice problems. And if you click on practice problems, it's going to load up a little interface asking like, how difficult do you want these problems to be? And if you start practicing, this does take a second, so I'll have to come back to this. But she's going to dynamically generate an unlimited number of questions based on the content that you've just read, which is really helpful for learning content. I'm going to jump over to analyzing the quality. So if you click on, this is the lesson module. You can see I'm on page 1 of 3. If you click on the analyze button there, this takes a few seconds. Yeah. Okay, I just jumped back to the other tab there, just showing these are the questions that she's created. So according to the provided text, which of the following best describes the primary purpose of security governance within an organization? So there's 4 questions, and I'm not going to read them. Well, I kind of do want to get them correct, but I'm going to just do that one. Hey, I got it right. Good. So I can just go next problem. Now it's just going to generate another problem. And this actually does happen fairly quickly when you're on a faster machine or a machine that's designed for this purpose. So, yeah, in this one, said analysis could not be completed. I might pop back to I can hear the fan on my computer going right now. Yeah. Analysis. So anyway, so that's how quizzes are generated. And so she's dynamically creating those. So yeah, that's an interesting part of the application. Now I'm going to jump back to the presentation. And I'm going to show you Anna's persistent context-aware presence. So Anna adapts her behavior depending on where you are and what you're doing within the application. When a learner is reading a lesson, she's right there beside the content and she receives the full lesson text. So any questions that you ask her, her answers are grounded in the actual material that you're studying, not just general knowledge from the internet. This is powered using something called Retrieval Augmented Generation, or RAG. When you ask Anna a question, she first searches through your course material to find that relevant content, then generates a response grounded in that material. And she also cites the specific lessons that she's referencing with clickable links. So if you want to get to it and you have access to that content, you're directed right there. Let's see. Okay, so I'll just stick with a few screenshots for a second here, if you can see those. This screenshot is just showing when you're on the authoring environment and you're asking Anna to iteratively improve the content within a course. I've given her the text up here says, in Module 1, Security and Risk Management, could you add a 30-minute lesson on security awareness and training? And she went through and she created that content and added it to as 1B here, security awareness and training. So that's one mode of Anna. The next is when you are not currently enrolled in a course. So this is what it would look like from a learner perspective. So I'm just a user browsing the system and I'm on this CISSP certification preparation course. And I've asked Anna, hey, if I'm interested in becoming a chef, should I take this course? And her response is, that's a thoughtful question. She's very nice, very lovely. But this course focuses on foundational aspects of cybersecurity. It doesn't cover culinary arts or the skills needed to become a chef. So why don't you try this culinary arts course over here on the course catalog? So she's trying to redirect you. There are other modes as well that I'm going to get into, Socratic tutoring in action. So Anna's default approach to learners is pedagogical. She doesn't just give you the answers. If you're, for example, if you're in a programming course and you ask her what happens when a base class method is overwritten, she might respond with, what do you think should happen when child classes define the same method? She asks leading questions, provides hints, and explains the underlying logic, guiding you towards understanding rather than just handing you an answer. And this is enforced at the system level. She cannot write full essays for you. She cannot do your assignments for you. It just doesn't work when you're in that side of the application. She is intended to support learning, not create shortcuts for you. So again, a few screenshots. I'll jump back into the live one in a minute. But I am a learner taking a look at this course, and I have a question. I understand that a lack of governance at a retail company might lead to inconsistent password policies, which is something that it says down in here. But what about if I was in a different type of company or a university? Would that matter? It's not a great question, but that was the question I decided to type in. And she says that's a great point. The specific context definitely influences the approach to security governance. Considering a university versus a retailer, what differences might you anticipate in the types of data they handle and how potential threats they may face? How might those differences impact the specific controls and processes needed within a security governance framework? And she's found this in module 1A, which is currently what I'm reading, and also 1B, which I haven't done yet, so I can't access. But it's kind of giving me a hint that there will be more answers to this in an upcoming module. And so I can respond back and have a full conversation. I can say, you know, a retailer would handle credit card data, whereas a university doesn't have access to credit cards. I think universities should just allow simple 5-character passwords, which is what some of my faculty members think. And that's a really insightful observation, she says. Considering the varying data environments, how might the level of security governments need to adapt between a retailer and a university? And could you describe what a simple 5-character password might represent in terms of a security risk? It's a very nice way of saying that I'm wrong. So that's an example of how she's doing the Socratic tutoring. Yeah. So the next thing is turning mistakes into learning moments. So after a learner completes a quiz, Anna walks them through their mistakes, not simply by revealing the correct answers, but helping them understand why their answer was wrong. She might say things like, "You got question 3 wrong. Let's talk about why the answer isn't B." This builds an understanding rather than just correcting errors. So I think I have the live version of that working. Oh, the content analysis worked the second time when it wasn't doing 2 different things at once. So that's an example of the quality analysis. So she got a score, she gave it a score of 78 out of 100. She produced a summary. She identified some strengths as well as some areas for improvements. And if you click on the apply button, she's going to try to generate that content and those fixes and apply them directly to the content on the left-hand side, which is very helpful. Okay. So if I go to this page, okay, I think this page will work. So I did this quiz here before. I got, I got 80%, 4 out of 5, which is great. But I want the opportunity to review the question that I missed. So if I click on Ask Anna, she is going to analyze that question, analyze my response, analyze the course, and then she's going to say, okay, let's break down the quiz results to help you solidify your understanding of the core security concepts. It's completely normal to have questions. Everyone learns at their own pace, and we're here to help you master these fundamentals for the CISSP exam. So the question was, the CIA triad represents the fundamental pillars of information security. What of the following best describes confidentiality? And I selected guaranteeing data is available when needed, which is clearly wrong. And the correct answer is ensuring data is accessible to authorized individuals. And then it provides more information, and then it explains why that is correct and why what you said is incorrect. And the cool thing about this is, like, we've had functionality like this in the previous platform, but the content authors, the teachers, or more likely the administrative support or instructional designers had to come up with all of that content and enter it into the system. And this is being dynamically generated by the AI. Yeah.
In Anna's scale, look at these questions. So, you could dumb it down by making it very obvious as one correct answer versus in currently in our human world, we try to put questions as similar as possible to the point where we have English. And just not very intellectual. I'm not very intelligent in terms of testing difficulty.
Yeah.
Questions. How about Anna do that?
Yeah. So Anna tries to build distractors that are built on common misconceptions, or she tries to intelligently do it as best that she can. And if you don't like the responses, you can always tweak them afterwards, but at least you have something to start with. Yes.
Just in terms of this Socratic question, how do we know that it's asking it the right way? In other words, how do we evaluate the quality of this teaching?
That's a great question, and I don't have a great answer to that, unfortunately, at this time. It's something that this is brand new and we're just exploring this. I'm actually going to be working with our Department of Anesthesiology, doing some A/B testing using this platform with our clerks who are rotating every 8 weeks through this anesthesiology rotation. So we're going to be like critically evaluating how it's doing. I'll also say it's quite dependent on the AI model that's being used underneath. I get into this in a few more slides, but I can explain that at that point. No one's tried it. I think you guys are the first group to see this. This is, yeah. Well, when I had the opportunity to think about what the next generation learning system looked like, I got thinking about it and thinking about it. Then I wrote a requirements document, and then I looked at the requirements document and I thought, I think I can build this. And so I started building it. Yeah. Okay, so I'll just go back to my PowerPoint slide. Okay, yeah. So the knowledge profile is an interesting part. So Anna builds a persistent understanding of each learner across sessions. So after meaningful conversations, there's a background process within the application that extracts knowledge signals, such as topics that they've discussed with Anna, comprehension level, and new areas of expertise. And then she updates the learner's knowledge profile dynamically, so that the next time the learner talks to Anna, she knows where you left off, and she also knows that what you've demonstrated an understanding of. She does collect all this information transparently, and learners can see what Anna knows about them anytime within their user profile. So Anna sees what you're working on, she remembers your conversations, and she adapts to your activity, and that foundation makes the adaptive learning capabilities possible. But let's look what the knowledge profile looks like. So I don't know where it is, so I'm just going to go up here. So at any point, did I not? No? Okay. There we go, this one. So at any point, the learner can just go into my profile at the top, or anyone really. And when you click on the knowledge tab, it's going to, the user can decide whether or not this profile is shared across all tenants in the entire application. I'm just showing you the cybersecurity tenant right now, but you saw the Anna tenant before, and the idea is anyone can kind of sign up for one of these. And if the learner shares this profile, then this information is available across all of the tenants, or you can isolate it to just one if you prefer. So this is the AI-generated knowledge summary of me. So this individual possesses a strong foundation in information security and risk management, demonstrated by their CISSP certification and expertise across key areas like identity and access management and network security. With 22 years of experience, they have a solid technical expert level of understanding, favoring visual and hands-on learning with a preference for detailed examples. While demonstrating a solid foundation, there's an opportunity to further strengthen their understanding of security awareness training, which is embarrassing. That's not true, by the way. It's just my use of the system. So also in your knowledge profile, you're able to give the AI more information about you. So in this case, she didn't infer the fact that, my education or my role, that's information that I entered, and then she expands on that. You're also able to select what your technical level is, how you prefer the AI to talk to you. Do you just prefer, get to the point type conversations, or adaptive? Sometimes she, is brief, and sometimes she's more thorough. And whether or not you want the AI to include examples. So this is interesting down here. So this is information that she has pulled out based on activities that I've done in the system. So I've done a lot of content authoring. So the CISSP certification course, she is very certain 100% that I know all about that. Less so around risk management and security architecture, maybe true. And the quiz performance in these areas is kind of low, so I know a little bit about that. So she kind of, adjusts this as I go. And if I'm a learner and I come in here and I don't agree with it, I can delete any of these, I'm going to call them memories, anytime I want. Down here, This is information that Anna has gathered through various methods. Oh, wow, there's a lot. Yeah. Yeah. Where's she getting all this from? She's going through, and you can see that she's inferred a bunch of information about me based on my use of the system so far. And then she uses this to further explain things to me in the future, really tailoring the experience of the AI to the individual using the system, not just generic. So, yeah, and topic. So a bunch of these are inferred, but if I go to the top, there's also explicit. So these are things that I've explicitly told the system that I like. There's an interview and an onboarding process that allows me to select topics that I like. And then the rest of it, she's just inferred based on my use of the system itself. So next we have the authoring experience, or sorry, the adaptive learning experience. And it's a really exciting feature. So in most online learning systems, every learner follows the same path. They go through module 1, module 2, then module 3. And if you're a senior software engineer, that can be extremely frustrating if you're enrolling in a Python course just because you want to understand some new library that course is talking about. And you have to sit through all sorts of basic things before you can get there. So variables, loops, and functions. So time is wasted rather from people who know this information on redundant review rather than new growth. So we want to try to adjust that in the next generation of learning systems. So in SkillScribe, adaptive learning paths allow learners to indicate that they already know certain content and challenge their way past it. So before starting a new module in the system, the learner sees two options. They can click on Start Learning, or they can click on I already know this. And if they click on I already know this, right now they have two options that are available to them. The first is a challenge quiz, which is a dynamically generated quiz based on the content within that module, as well as the learning objectives. And the second is a conversational assessment in which the AI is interviewing you and making a determination of whether or not you know the content. So let's take a look what that looks like. So maybe I'll try to go over to the live environment here. So no, I'll do the quiz one in here first. So if I click on I already know this and I choose a quiz, I've gone through and I've done the quiz and it's determined, keep learning. You've done this quiz, but you only know 30% of the content. The demonstrated mastery required is 85 for you to proceed. So it's no problem. You just click on learn this content and then you're going to start the module just like you normally would. You may have just wasted 10 minutes, doing the quiz. That's it. The next option is clicking Talk with Anna. And this is where the interview happens. So if I go over here, see if this will still work. I started this chat a while ago, so hopefully it's still okay. So let's talk about evidence collection. It's a really fascinating area. Can you tell me in your own words what you think is the most important reason for maintaining a strict chain of custody when collecting forensic as evidence? So, so that the evidence doesn't get tampered with and mess up the investigation. So she's thinking about my response, hopefully. This is usually pretty quick. Okay. Why is it critical to document every person who handles the evidence rather than just those who might potentially alter it? Because you don't know who would alter it. Sometimes that person next to you is evil. How does documenting every handler contribute to the overall reliability of the evidence beyond simply preventing intentional alteration? So there is an accurate chain. I'll just try to get through this quickly. Considering an accurate chain is vital, how does the documented chain specifically impact the admissibility of evidence in the legal setting? So at this point, she's made a decision about whether or not I know this content, and I'm hoping that she says, no, I don't enough, because I did not provide enough clarifying answers there. But if I'm interested in this as a learner, I can continue to have this conversation. But whenever I want, I can click Submit Assessment. And another AI is then going to like read through our conversation. Okay, well, that's still pretty high based on what I would have liked to have seen. But I can't continue because I didn't get 85. So I've got, as a content author, I select that mastery level, and I selected 85 when I created this course. So that's not high enough. But then she gives me feedback based on the conversation that she's had, where I need to continue. But still, it's no problem. I just click learn this content and away I go. And then I can just start into the content itself. So that's an example of how that works. Ooh, I'm looking at the time. So let's go back to, so that, I'm gonna go through there. Okay, we're gonna go on to engaging disengaged learners. So everything I've shown you so far works when a learner is present and active, but the hardest problem in online learning today isn't that the quality of the content or the intelligence of the tutor, it's getting the learners to come back. This is where we need to talk about engagement, and I want to be deliberate about how we frame it. Social media platforms have spent 2 decades perfecting engagement techniques designed to maximize your time on their platforms. They've introduced infinite scrolling, variable rate reward schedules, and fear of missing out. These techniques are effective and they are harmful. When we talk about engagement in a learning system like this, we want to be explicit about how our goals are different. So our goal is not to maximize the time these users are spending on our platform. Our goal is to maximize the learning outcomes by ensuring learners stay engaged long enough to achieve their learning objectives. The distinction is subtle, but it changes everything about how you design a system like this. I can illustrate that a little bit. I don't know if people use Duolingo here at all. My kids do. I just got a message from my son, very proud of himself that he has a 100-day streak. He's supposed to be learning German, but what counts as a 100-day streak is also playing chess, which, anyways, I don't think I have to talk anymore. It's not, their whole entire goal is to maximize the time that you're on that platform. It has absolutely nothing to do with whether or not you're learning any of the content. So how should engagement actually work? So here's how I think. So Anna monitors engagement signals for each learner course pair, and then she calculates an engagement score from 0 to 100. The signals that she looks at are things like how many days since the learner last accessed the course, whether their progress is stalled, whether they've failed multiple assessments in a row, and whether their session frequency is declining. When this learner's score drops into an at-risk band, Anna intervenes, but not in a generic way. She uses what I call a content bridging engine to connect the learner's personal interests, that knowledge base that I showed you earlier, with the content that they need to cover next in the course. So, for example, if a learner is a first-year medical student and these medical students thrive on collaboration, they thrive on being a leader and the smartest, and they've stalled on a pharmacology module, Anna might say something like, in the next section of this course, we're covering drug interactions, the kind of thing that comes up constantly in team-based learning sessions. Understanding this now will make you the person that your team turns to when those cases get complicated. So maybe that's a little bit of manipulation, but it's all about intent, right? It's to try to like, oh, I can be the best if I do this. So the goal is to make the content feel relevant and personally interesting, not to guilt or pressure the learner into returning. or compare them against their friends who are doing better or worse. So Anna sends the learner messages by email, by in-app notifications, and through push notifications in the mobile app. Every proactive message that Anna sends includes a "Why am I seeing this?" link. So when a learner clicks that, they get an honest explanation, including which signals fired and which rule triggered the message, and how to adjust those preferences or disable the feature entirely. There's no dark patterns in this, there's no artificial urgency, and there's no guilt or shame as motivators. And if the learners don't want this, they can disable it anytime. They can also adjust their engagement preferences to say, like, stop bugging me so much, or don't notify me between the hours of 10 p.m. and 7 a.m., and they can adjust all of that. The ideal system, in my opinion, is designed to encourage and nudge, but not to nag. So while we're on the topic of ethics, I wanted to briefly address something that comes up in most conversations about AI, and that is privacy. So everything I've shown today runs locally on my slow M1. There's no per query API costs, no ongoing licensing fees that you need to pay to any AI vendors. The AI model that I'm currently using is Gemma 3.4b, which runs decently enough on my older MacBook. In production, I'm going to be using GPT OSS 120b, which is a fantastic model, but it requires a lot beefier hardware to run. And so when that gets put in place, then the response time that we can expect is less than 5 seconds per response for up to 20 simultaneous learners, which is decent. So we can use local AI models and not pay those licensing fees if we want to. The GPT OSS model is by OpenAI. It's about the equivalent of the closed weight GPT 4.0 model, if you remember that from a year and a half or ish ago. But if you would prefer to use those closed flagship models, like you want to use GPT 5.4 or Opus 4.6 or something like that, this is all configurable in the back end. You can configure it to use that, but you don't necessarily need them, is, I guess, my point. We had a conversation yesterday about the expectation of we will eventually need to pay the real cost of using this AI when we're paying our $40 a month to use whatever service we end up using now. That is nowhere near the real cost of the hardware and the technology and the development that's going into it. Eventually, that $40 per month will be a real cost, plus something to recoup the hundreds of millions of dollars in investment going into it. So it's going to be higher at some point. So using local AI will hopefully help you curb that a little bit. This platform is also designed with strong data governance in mind, the kind that institutions everywhere are increasingly expected to provide. This includes full data portability, the right to erasure, and configurable data retention periods. The learners can export all of their content from the system. If you're a course author, you can export all of your courses in SCORM-compliant learning formats for if it's course material, or just like a zip file with all of your progress and certificates and everything if you're a learner. So whether your framework is GDPR or PDPA here in Singapore or your own institutional policies, these capabilities aren't just nice to haves, they're a requirement, and the system that you buy needs to do these things. So there we go. And because I think institutions and learners are best served using open source, I want to license this technology under the AGPL open source license. Anyone can inspect every line of code, contribute features and enhancements, self-host the platform, and maintain full control over your own data and your AI configuration indefinitely. So 20 years ago, sorry. So 20 years ago, the problem that I was asked to solve was pretty straightforward. Build a website so that our medical students could access all of their learning content in a single place. And we did that. We organized the scattered information into a consistent, predictable structure. and it served our learners well for two decades. But organizing content was never the end goal. The real goal has always been about the learning, the genuine understanding, the kind of thing that changes how someone thinks and what they can do. So today we have content that is abundant and organized, and that problem has been solved. What's scarce is the kind of adaptive, personal, and engaging learning experiences that help a learner build real mastery. AI doesn't teach, teachers teach. What AI does is give every learner access to a patient, knowledgeable tutor who's always available and who remembers where they were left off and who meets them exactly where they are. And that's what I think that we should expect of the next generation of learning system. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Really, really interesting and quite exciting as well.
Yeah.
So there'll be quite a few questions, so we've got a bit of time.
Yeah.
Yeah, please.
So, Anna is locally run, right? But how, so as for Anna generate something that looks like an LMS, how do you actually link it up to the skills scribe? Is that an LMS? Sorry,
That's just the platform that I developed for illustrative purposes for this presentation. Yeah. Yeah. So how do you hook it up to an LMS? It doesn't really hook up to an LMS at this point. It's kind of just like a standalone system that you can log into with your, Microsoft account or something like that. If you're a learner, you could access content that way. I might explore, depending on if I, take this further and continue development of it. If I do, and that's like a direction that I want to go in, then I would probably build in LTI compatibility so that the content could be loaded into one of our big clunky LMSs and students can access it in a little iframe or something like that. Yeah. Yeah.
That it's accessing the information from the internet. So, and we are generating posters from there. So please only do it. Okay, so in that case, how do we ensure the copyright of all the information that's taken from the internet? Because we have to be careful of what we are using for developing materials, right?
I love that question. So the question is, it's not just going out to the internet to search for this information. This information is stored within the neural network, the model that you've downloaded. So there are many organizations like OpenAI who have been accused of dumping the entire internet in and putting it into through their neural network in order for the content to, in order for the model to understand and know this information. But that's not the same thing when we're using the content. It's not the same thing as going to a website and copying and pasting the content. It's not. It's coming up with this content on its, I hate to say that, but it is coming up with its content on its own. It understands this based on, well, actually, we don't know how these models are working inside of them. Even the people that create the models don't understand how a neural network works. It's some advanced probability mathematical equation. But yeah, the content that's being generated is based on the prompts that we enter. And as the teacher, your job is to also review the content that the AI creates. You can't just, enter that one sentence, have it generate a course and click publish and expect that learners could take it, because it could hallucinate and generate incorrect information for sure. That is drastically reduced when you ground it with your own content. So that's why I say I like the idea of being able to upload, my 66,000 words of, content that I wrote from doing all those CISSP prep work, combined with maybe a PowerPoint slide deck that I created when I was, teaching that topic or something like that. Because then you're going to ensure that the words that the LLM is spitting out are your words, your material, and you're going to have less chance of it, just copying something.
I just have one more question.
Yeah.
So you mentioned about uploading our information and materials inside. So how secure is that information that we are uploading? Will it be available to the other users of this platform, or is it just within us, or do we have a choice to make it available to others or just keep it to ourselves?
So right now, again, for this was developed for illustrative purposes, this application itself, and anything where I'm currently at in development of it is what you upload is for yourself only. You can't share it with anyone else. It's part of the tenant that you create. So if I go over to the administrative interface, I'm on SkillScribe here, the cybersecurity.skillscribe.localhost tenant. So if I click on media, I haven't uploaded any documents yet, but if I wanted to upload, I don't know, all the CISSP stuff. This information is being uploaded and virus scanned and stored within the platform. And this is only available to the people who own and run that tenant cybersecurity. So that would be people under members, which would be these. I mean, this is seed data, so it looks like a lot of people, but these are the people that are part of that organization, so to speak.
Thank you very much.
Welcome. Yeah.
What you presented looks really exciting. Can I just ask how you envisage this would work if you are going to try and spread this beyond Queen's University? For instance, if we wanted to.
That's a great question. Yeah, if I'm, like I said, I would like to open source this technology. I don't imagine, you know, like I don't want to run a company or anything around this. It's not like, it's just not an interest of mine, but similar to Linux, yeah, for sure. The AGPL is a really interesting license. First of all, corporations hate it because it is a viral license and it interacts the A in front of GPL, which stands for Affero, prevents them from integrating it with any other commercial systems, because if they did that, then it would also make their system open source, and they don't want that. So it's a license that corporations don't like, that I think is really good, because if you take this application and you host it locally for your university, and you want to continue to develop this tool, you can do that on your own, but you're obligated to submit any changes back to the main project, even though it's a web application and host it. So I think that's probably the direction that I would go, just because the intellectual property then is spread out across a lot of people, and you have access to the application and the source code to make changes that you want that work for you. And I just see it as a long-term sustainable solution. So, yeah.
I think there's a question online.
I think it's a similar question. How do we access data from Singapore Intranet, and how much is the subscription currently?
Yeah, it's like I said, it's an illustrative prototype, so I don't have it online and available for people at this point. It's just running off of my laptop. Eventually, it will be running at SkillScribe, but I would not recommend it. No one knows about this yet. I'm the only person that's ever clicked this link. This is where I'll eventually be hosting it, if I continue that. So there is no subscription costs. It's just free.
Any final questions? Conscious of time, we're really grateful to Matt. Very exciting, as I said, and I think maybe one of the most impressive things is that, correct me if I'm wrong, Matt, but I think you put all of this together in the last couple of months.
Yeah.
Or
The last 3 months.
3 months.
Yes, my wife and children have not seen me for 3 months. I've been kind of into it. Yeah.
So it's great that maybe the invitation for you to come kind of trigger this a little bit, maybe,
did,
or at least
absolutely.
gave you the time or the
Yeah.
excuse to
Yes.
work on this. So that's
Yeah,
fantastic.
exactly.
We're
Yeah.
really looking forward to hear more about this and see how it evolves.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you're welcome to take any of the ideas if you're interested in developing something yourself or building upon it. And once I open source the code for it, you're welcome to rip pieces out and use those, as long as it's licensed under AGPL the same way.
Excellent, wonderful. Okay, well, thank you. Thanks again. Matt.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thanks everyone for coming. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.